In the headlines, El-Rufai, Obasani clash as coalition talks stir political tensions in Kaduna. Reps summon Rivers Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibok Ita-Ibas retired over state of emergency oversight. Again, Dangote Refinery reduces petrol price by 3.5% to 835 naira per litre. On the foreign scene, at least 300 people killed during the post-election violence in Mozambique. Hello and welcome to Trust News Updates. My name is Idris Daya Baturi. A deepening political divide is playing out in Kaduna State as former Governor Nasir El-Rufai and incumbent Governor Obasani lock horns in a very public showdown, one that reflects broader tensions shaking Nigeria's political landscape. The two leaders are offering starkly contrasting visions of Nigeria's future, with El-Rufai launching scathing criticism and of the ruling party APC and hinting at major realignment ahead of the 2027 general elections. Obasani, meanwhile, is pushing back, accusing opposition forces of playing politics at the expense of ordinary Nigerians. Trust TV's Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima has more on the unfolding drama.
In a sharp rebuke of his own party, Nasir El-Rufai declared that All Progressive Congress has strayed far from the ideals that brought it to power. He warned that Nigeria has been in decline since President Bola Tinubu took office and hinted at looming political realignments.
I have always addressed wrongdoing in government because I believe that governance is for the people, not for individuals in power. There is nothing wrong with that. I have never disrespected President Buhari. Anyone who knows me understands the respect I have for him. I believe he respects me too.
El-Rufai reiterated his stance as a principled politician who speaks truth to power, reminding Nigerians that he opposed policies under President Buhari when he believed they were wrong, such as the controversial currency redesign.
I took him to court over his currency change and cashless policy. My action was against the government, not against Buhari personally. I did this because I witnessed the suffering of the people during that time. This is not disrespect. It was my way of expressing my concerns.
Reacting to talk of opposition forming a mega coalition to challenge APC in 2027, Governor Obasani dismissed the idea, saying it is more about power grabs than genuine concern for Nigerian people.
Because you talk about merger here, yes, but the way I'm looking at it, merger, when you talk about merger for what? Merger for grabbing power or merger for working for the interests of the people? That you have to define it. I would have been worried if merger is about transforming Nigeria. But when you are fighting government that you are part of it, you contributed in bringing the situation where it is today. Anybody, like I said, who is from northern Nigeria, that held political office in the last 20 years, all of us must look at ourselves in the mirror and apologize to the people of northern Nigeria. We let them down.
Adding fuel to the fire, El-Rufai recently paid a visit to former President Muhammadu Buhari amid reports of his defection to the Social Democratic Party SDP. The same day, Buhari also hosted Atiku Abubakar and a separate delegation from the APC led by National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, a political spectacle that has tongue wagging and speculation soaring. As Nigeria inches closer to 2027, these emerging cracks could signal bigger political earthquakes on the horizon. Abubakar Abdullahi Galadima, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Ad Hoc Committee on River State Oversight has invited the State Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibok Ita-Ibas retired to appear before it on Thursday for an interactive session. This was contained in a statement issued by the spokesman of the House, Akin Rotimi Jr. on Wednesday. The committee was constituted by the House of Representatives following the resolution of the National Assembly approving the presidential proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers State. Rotimi, in the statement, said the invitation was issued by the committee at its Wednesday's inaugural meeting following the formal inauguration of the committee by Speaker of the House Abbas Tajuddin on Tuesday, April 15, 2025. He said the meeting provided a platform for members to deliberate on preliminary report and development emerging from Rivers State since the sole administrator assumed office. Now, the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja has declared the removal of the reinstated Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. In a judgment delivered on Wednesday, the court also nullified the proceedings and resolutions of the House held on January 13, 2025, during which Obasa was ousted. Obasa had filed a suit against the House of Assembly and the newly appointed Speaker at the time, Mojisola Miranda, to challenge the legality of his removal. Now, supervisors of the attacks in the Zike community of Bassa local government area of Plateau State have been recounting their ordeal following the latest attack on their community. The survivors, who described the incident as devastating, called on relevant authorities to take necessary actions to end the killings in the area. Adu Musa completes the report.
More than 50 residents, including women and children, were killed while many were injured in the attack, which residents said had lasted for hours before the arrival of security personnel. Several houses were reportedly burned in the incident by the perpetrators. Some of the survivors who spoke to Trust TV said some of their relatives were killed in the attack. We were sleeping when the gunmen stormed the community. All of a sudden, we started hearing gunshots. We didn't know from which direction because gunshots were almost from all directions. We didn't know where to run to. Before we knew anything, the gunmen had already invaded the community. We woke up with our children and started fleeing, but in the midst of all this, more than 40 houses were burned and 51 people were killed. Former Minister of Youth and Sport, Solomon Dalun, described the attack as pure criminality.
What is happening on the plateau is neither religious, is not other farmers' crisis, is not political, is not ethnic. It is a criminal gang, a criminal enterprise that acquired arms and they are using it to displace people, to grab the land. Now, why are they interested in the land? The land of Plateau from research is very, very rich in mineral deposits. So the whole intention is to reenact what happened in Zamfara. Because the crisis in Zamfara is based on the rich mineral deposit underground. And it's the same thing here. If you look at what is happening in Plateau, mining tradition has started. If you move everywhere now, you see artisans mining. So that gives you a clue that what they are targeting is nothing short of eliminate the people, nobody owns the land again, and then their sponsors will emerge and mining activities will take place.
The minister faulted the Chief of Army Staff assertion that the killings were political.
I don't think that he has sufficient knowledge about the political architecture. But unfortunately, they have left their primary responsibilities and they are more into politics. I see them speaking in front of television more instead of from the bush. So I will not be surprised that he can make that type of statement if he actually made it. But a soldier is not supposed to be hard. You only see him and feel his impact. We want to feel the impact of the army. We are not inviting them to give us lectures on politics. We have sufficient academicians and scholars who will handle the issue.
The Bokos attacks came barely 2 weeks after devastating attacks on communities of Bokos local government area of the state, where dozens were killed and many others injured. During the Bokos attacks, many houses were also burned. Adu Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now, following the recent attacks that have led to loss of lives and destruction of property in Plateau State, the governor, Caleb Mutfwang, on Wednesday issued new measures to curtail the attacks. The governor, in a statewide broadcast, said the measures include prohibition of night grazing and transportation of cattle after 7 p.m., as well as motorcycle movement, which is now restricted from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. statewide. Governor Mutfwang said though the attacks are calculated, persistent and painful, the state remains unbroken.
Hello, Plateau State. I speak to you today not only as your governor, but as a fellow son of Plateau who shares in your anguish and feels the weight of the pain inflicted on our people. We are once again confronted by sorrow as heart-wrenching attacks have taken the lives of innocent citizens in our communities. In the late hours of Sunday, April 13th, the calm of Kimakpa area of Kwal District in Bassa local government area was shattered by violent assaults on Zike village. Innocent men, women and children were murdered in cold blood. Homes were touched, properties ravaged, and entire families left in agony. These attacks occurred even as we were still mourning the loss of over 50 lives in Bokos. The scale, the frequency, and intent of these atrocities are unmistakable. Let us be clear. This is not random violence. This is not an isolated conflict between farmers and herders. What we are witnessing is a systematic and premeditated campaign, one that seeks to displace, destabilize, and instill terror and fear on our people and communities. The tragic echoes of Dogonahawa, Riom, Barkiladi, Mangu, and the Christmas Eve massacres in Bokos remain vivid. The cycle continues, but it must not endure. Enough is enough.
Now, 3 suspected herdsmen have been arrested following the attacks that led to the killings of 11 persons at Otobi community in Otukpo local government by suspected herdsmen. Governor Hyacinth earlier disclosed these on Wednesday while briefing journalists at the government house in Makodi, the state capital, expressed worry over the situation and called on security agencies to track down the perpetrators. According to earlier, the National Security Advisor Nuri Badu has promised to deploy more security assets to the state to arrest the renewed wave of attacks in the state, especially the Otukpo axis. The governor also announced the deployment of security personnel to the affected area, with 3 suspected herdsmen arrested in connection with the Otobi killings. According to the member representing Otukpo Akpa constituency in the Benue State House of Assembly, Kennedy Angbo, 9 corpses were recovered on Tuesday night, followed by 1 in a hard-to-reach area later that evening. He said by dawn Wednesday, other corpses were found, bringing the total number of fatalities to 11. Now, the Kano State Police Command says it has in the past 4 weeks arrested a total of 157 suspects arrested and recovered a cache of firearms, illicit drugs, and stolen properties. The State Commissioner of Police, Ibrahim Adamu Bakori, disclosed this during a press briefing held at the police headquarters in Bompai on Wednesday. The police commissioner identified as a major breakthrough a dismantling of a criminal syndicate involved in firearm smuggling. The operation, he said, led to the recovery of 19 fabricated revolver rifles, 114 live cartridges, and 6 expended cartridges. Bakori added that in a separate operation, officers also intercepted and seized large consignment of illicit drugs, including tramadol tablets worth an estimated 150 million naira, 6 cartons of ampicillin, and hundreds of tablets and bottles of other banned substances. Now, the Nigeria Police Force (NPF) has summoned DSP Aliyu Adejembi and his men, who were seen in a viral video collecting money from Chinese nationals at the force headquarters in Abuja, for questioning. The video, which surfaced on social media on Tuesday, shows some Chinese nationals handing out about 5,000 naira mint notes to each Nigerian policeman in a line-up formation. The mobile policemen were on escort duty to the Chinese nationals somewhere in Kaduna State. The development sparked outrage, with many Nigerians condemning the act of the Chinese nationals. The report says a signal warning from the force headquarters has been sent to their commander, summoning the officers to Abuja for disciplinary action.
蒋总跟他们发小费了，走开。这都是赖拉，这都是1000的赖拉给的。蒋夫人，200赖拉相当于那个1块钱。发钱了。OK。一个人是5000赖拉。
This is the news update on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Osun resident laments soaring bread prices amid worsening cost of living crisis. More news when we return. Stay with us.
Breathe in the freshness in the airwaves.
We are still on to the services of Trust Radio 92.7. We are broadcasting from the main building of Daily Trust headquarters in it.
You can trust.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. El-Rufai, Obasani clash as coalition talks stir political tensions in Kaduna State. And Reps Solomon Rivers Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibok Ite-Ibas retired over state of emergency oversight. Now moving on to more stories. As the economic hardship in Nigeria bites harder, residents of Osun State have lamented the high cost of food, particularly bread. This is just as bakers lament the high cost of flour and other baking items amidst call on the government to intervene. Hamid Oyegbadi files the reports.
Bread is one of the many basic staple foods in many homes in Nigeria, with some reports indicating increases of over 50% in a year. Bread prices have continually risen significantly.
Only few people they are able to buy that bread according to their price. It means that we are still suffering from what we call inflation.
Before, we are taking 200 bread, 250 bread, but nowadays the lowest common price that we are buying is starting from 300, 350.
Bread vendors say the current prices of bread has led to a decline in patronage, and that many of them have been rendered jobless as a result.
Bread of a loaf of bread that should be sold at the rate of 500 is being sold now at the rate of 1,000 naira, which is unbearable for the people that are buying it from us. So now I ought to have sold nothing less than 50 loaves this morning. I'm here to sell one due to the cost of it, and people that are supposed to come for it, they are going for the cheaper ones.
Government should bring down the price of flour. Government should reduce the pump price of fuel. Many people are no more buying bread. Only few people buy bread nowadays. The high cost of bread is affecting us. The price from the bakers is too high. We are not really making sales. I have not sold any since morning.
Meanwhile, master bakers in the state have attributed the rising price of bread to inflation and called on the government to address the economic crisis in the country.
Import duties, if bread yourself will not be you now buy wheat like 100,000 naira from a foreign country. The another tariff that the government put on this is another 100,000. If the government that reduce the tariff and import duties on the flowers, another bakery and another material like sugars, so the price of bread will come down.
Considering the prime place of bread in Nigerian homes, Nigerians want government to address the problem and come up with policies that will force the prices down. Amid Ojegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Now in business, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced a further reduction in the gantry price of premium motor spirit PMS, commonly known as petrol. The new price is set at 835 naira per litre, down from 865 naira per litre, marking a 3.5% decrease. The price adjustment follows the recent decline in global crude oil prices, which have dropped to $64 per barrel from over $70 per barrel in recent weeks. The refinery had previously reduced its gantry price from 880 naira per litre to 865 naira per litre. However, oil marketers did not pass on the savings to consumers. And now away from Nigeria, Mozambique security forces carried out a brutal 3-month crackdown on protesters after the country's election last year, a leading international rights group said on Wednesday, citing local activists who alleged that more than 300 people were killed and more than 3,000 were injured in the unrest. In its new report, Amnesty International called on Mozambican authorities to investigate the killings and all rights violations in the wake of the election, and to bring law enforcement officials responsible to justice. Thousands of Mozambicans took part in waves of protest in the weeks after the October 9 presidential and parliamentary election, where Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo party was declared the winner amid allegations of rigging and election fraud raised by his challengers and international observers. The protests were in support of Venancio Mondlane, who ran an independent candidate but was supported by the opposition Podemos party. The demonstrations intensified after the October 18 killings of Mondlane's lawyer and a Podemos official who were brutally shot by gunmen later at night while sitting in a car in Mozambique's capital, Maputo. According to Amnesty's report, between October 21 and January 25, the Mozambique police and army used deadly forces against largely peaceful marches and gatherings, shooting live ammunition, rubber bullets and tear gas canisters at protesters and bystanders. And now in sport, Gabonese international striker Aaron Bopenza has died after falling off a building in China. Bopenza, 28, reportedly passed away after falling from the 11th floor. He was playing for Chinese side Zhejiang, having moved from Rapid Bucharest earlier this year. The Gabonese Football Federation confirmed the tragic news on Wednesday. Bopenza had made 35 appearances for Gabon since his debut in 2016, scoring 8 goals. He featured in the African Cup of Nations for his country last year. And with that, we come to the end of the news update on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and watch us live on YouTube for more news, programs and documentaries. My name is Idris Dayabutura. Thank you for being with us. Good evening.